Welcome to the Inspection Empire Builder podcast. On today's episode, we're talking about growing an inspection company through phenomenal communication. You don't want to miss it. And welcome to the show. I'm so glad you tuned in today. On today's episode, we are hanging out with Matt from Arizona. Matt, how are you doing?
Doing fantastic. Thanks for having me, Matt.
You know, two Matts on one podcast. I don't know if this show's big enough for both of us.
People are lucky to be listening today.
That's what I'm thinking, right? Yeah, they're lucky. They're lucky to be listening. This is like the premiere episode. Yeah. I know we've just started recording, so I don't know what's going to happen, but I think this could be the best episode of the year just because it is Matt and Matt.
Yeah, buddy.
So Matt, tell me a little bit about yourself, man. Where are you located?
Sure. I'm in Phoenix, Arizona, the good old desert. Been doing home inspections out here for 20 years. Started in training in 2005, certified in 2006, worked for another company for about a year and a half and started my own May 2007. There's currently 6 of us, myself and 5 other inspectors.
Oh, fantastic, man. So how long were you solo before you started hiring people?
About 10 years. Decided to do the Matt Jenks show for a while until I got up the guts to hire someone else. Yeah,
it's that transition's always a little scary, huh?
It was a big jump. At least I thought it was. It turned out better than I could have hoped for, but yeah.
Oh, that's really good, man. That's really good. So what motivated you to make that change? Like, right, the Matt Jenks show is rocking and rolling. Things are going well. Like, why you're like, you know what? I'm going to change what I'm doing.
Sure. Well, it's a very easy answer. You know, capacity, not being able to keep up with demand, time off, seeing my kids, seeing my wife, seeing family. It kind of drove me to the point of how long am I going to be by myself? And it was an easy answer. You know, it was time to hire.
That's awesome. Yeah. So like a work-life balance, basically.
Yeah, I guess that's the short answer. Yeah. Work-life balance.
Right.
That's a great way to put it.
Because you want to have a little bit more time and isn't that what we all do? We start a business thinking like, I'm going to have some time freedom. I'll make a little more money, maybe some financial freedom, maybe some time freedom. And then pretty soon the business is owning you and you're like, I have no time.
Well, it's good to be busy, but you got to own it the right way and work it the right way. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Which I think is one of the amazing things about the IEB community is that it's a bunch of like-minded inspection business owners that are trying to achieve that balance in a healthy way.
Totally agree. I've got a huge benefit. I joined IEB originally in January of 2020, and then the whole COVID mess went crazy, and I kind of backed out, not knowing what was going to happen. Inspections were dropping like crazy on my end, and for lack of better explanation, as we all know, things just went sideways. And then I got reintroduced to IEB about this time last year. Jackson is relentless in keeping up with people, which was awesome. He's a great guy to talk to, great guy to get to know. And, he finally sunk the hook in me and, made me come around to my senses.
Yeah, that's incredible. Yeah, I can tell you the IEB community has been a huge blessing for me in my life. It was 2020. I was solo. I was thinking about hiring. And in 2020, when COVID hit, I was like, oh, I'm glad I didn't hire anybody because this is crazy. But then like 2 or 3 months after COVID hit, oh my gosh,
got busy.
It just got exploded. Well, yeah, because they started dropping interest rates, in order to help keep the economy stable, and like the house buying frenzy went nuts.
Yep.
And so from there, I started hiring in that season. And so then I joined IEB in 2021, I believe.
Nice.
It was 2021. It was spring of 2021. I joined IEB, and when I joined IEB, I had a couple of inspectors working for me, but I didn't really know what I was doing as far as structuring things the right way. And then now we're running a multi-million-dollar inspection business, and it's with a whole bunch. I'm hiring 5 more people right now. That's awesome. Literally, so it just keeps growing. It's just unbelievable. So huge props to the IEB community for helping me. And if someone's listening today, I'm telling you, like, if you're not part of the IEB community, there's something about it, man, right? There's something about it where you get surrounded with people that are like-minded. And what I love about it is it's not a cult personality around one person.
Agreed. Yeah. It's a, wide open welcome system for anybody that is willing to learn the business and willing to learn from people that have failed and that have had a challenge and that have gone through what a lot of people have gone through, especially obviously in the inspection world. It's nice to meet people that have been where you've been and are at where you want to get to. It's very motivating.
It is very motivating. Yeah. So, all right. So you've had some pretty good success. And then just in recent years, you've grown pretty quickly. So you were kind of the one man thing for a while, and then you kind of took off. Yeah. What are some of the characteristics and qualities that you think helped you grow and stay full and then continue to grow in this season?
Qualities with what I'm looking for in my inspectors, or qualities with me, or?
Yeah. Qualities of you and your company. Like, what are some things that you've done that have helped it grow?
Doing a good job of keeping ourselves in front of realtors, and a lot of that trust and development of the relationship, right, happens on site. We don't see a ton of realtors in their office. We do when we visit. We do when we try to catch up with them on their turf. But a lot of that trust and relationship building is built on site. It's built in how you walk the client around the house. It's built in how you deliver your report. Obviously, a lot of times we're not meeting people or houses until we're there day of, so you got to take advantage of what's going on, right then and there. And I think we've done a fantastic job of not only having knowledgeable inspectors, but having the ability to communicate clearly, communicate properly, don't scare people. We've all seen the houses that you think they're going to fall over, but people are so excited to be moving in there, and you're just telling them about the place, right? So being clear with expectations, and then delivering stuff realistically and honestly. It's not rocket science, but you got to do it the right way.
Yeah, I agree. Right. Like, people are stressed out when they're buying a house. Yeah. They're buying a six figure, 7-figure purchase. I guess in some part of the country you got 8 figures, but not around here at least. So, it's not where I'm at, but you got some 7 figures in here. But you end up with these people buying, and they're spending hundreds of thousands or $1 million or more. You don't spend that very often. Let's just be honest. For the average American, you do this every once in a very long time. Yeah. 7 to 10 years, you might buy a new house, and so you've got 6 figures on the line. This deal's under contract. You have a short window to make decisions. Am I really going to go through with this or not? I mean, that's a lot of stress. And we've all seen the movies like the Money Pit, movie House, and we've heard, great movie. We've heard horror stories of other people having terrible experiences. And so you put yourself in the shoes of a buyer, right? And they've signed away, like, on paper, here's $500,000, $750,000, $1.2 million on paper. And like, now they have this little window, and they've been like sleepless at night thinking what could be possibly wrong with this house, waiting for the inspection to happen. It's been 3 days, 7 days, whatever it is, 8 days since. And then finally you get there. They've not been sleeping for days. They're stressed out. They're thinking about all the things that could be wrong. Guess what? They're not going to be on their best behavior. And then we show up and we're like, yeah, there's stuff that's, needs repairs. And I think you're right. Like, the way you communicate that is so important, because you could jump off that roof and be like, dang, that roof needs some work, and all of a sudden they're freaking out, or you can jump off that same roof and be like, yeah, overall it's in decent shape. It has a little deferred maintenance that needs to be caught up. Yeah. And they're like, oh, you got to catch up on the maintenance. Yeah. Catching up on the maintenance is like, damn, this roof needs work.
We've all seen The Money Pit. Tom Hanks could have used a great home inspector. That's for sure.
That's right. He needs a home inspector, right? But I think you're right. Like, communicating what you're communicating on site builds trust and rapport with people. And it helps, and it really helps, like, clients feel, like, home buyers feel really comfortable, but it also builds rapport with realtors. And I think our reputation in the market, in our community, really matters. And that home buyer maybe is going to use us once every 7 to 10 years, but that realtor is going to interact with us once a month. Hopefully right. And exactly. Right. And so, but when you have those realtors on a regular basis, pretty soon, like, if you're out scaring clients, your reputation spreads. Like, guy's a fearmonger. He's a deal killer. Don't use that guy. Right. But if you're out there delivering the same thing, like you said, great communication is essentially what you're saying. Absolutely. If you have great communication, then right. Like, that's a great way. That's a very key element. I love how you did that. What do you do for, like, acquiring new realtors or new clients? Do you have like good client acquisition process, or what do you guys do for that?
I have a good one, not a great one. That's part of my focus for this year. I'm doing a lot for growth and a lot of for development with my guys. I do keep in touch with my realtors pretty regularly. I don't visit offices as much as I should, but I've found that once I get in front of a group of realtors or a group of people, it's very easy for me to talk about my business and my industry and how my company works and how our inspections are delivered and how clients and realtors are going to be treated and handled on site. So for me, getting in front of people is the best impact. Going to whether it's realtor meetings or events. I've had a lot of success going to. We have a realtor group out here called We Serve. Where all the we get our super keys from, and where all the realtors have their different meetings for whatever the topic is. And getting in front of new realtors, I think is very exciting. They're kind of like the shiny new thing. They don't know what they don't know, and hoping if they can find out some good information from us and from me, and walking them through the potential, home inspection of what it could be for them, and how it's a huge benefit. Having a great home inspector and someone who knows what they're talking about to educate clients and to hopefully have a great experience with that realtor, where they'll take that great experience into their office, and then hopefully from there it can spread around. Hey, well, I had a terrible experience with one guy. Well, who do you use? Oh, we've talked with Matt with First Step Home Inspectors. He was great. His guys were great. I get a lot of that actually, which is pretty nice.
That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah. So you got good guys. So I'm curious about your hiring process, maybe not the whole process, but when you're looking for a home inspector, what are some of the qualities when you're meeting potential candidates that,
Sure.
What are some of the qualities that like stand out to you? Like, oh, this is something I'm looking for.
Well, to stay with the theme here. I like looking to see how they communicate with me and how they communicate through their interest in the position, how they, I'll bring them on a ride along at some point in time. Out here in Arizona, I'm sure it's similar in New Mexico as well, but they have to do a minimum of 30 ride alongs. And on the first ride along, the realtor shows up and clients show up, and I don't always tell them, zip it and don't say anything. I like to see if they kind of pick up the process. I've had guys that did inappropriate stuff the first time they met realtors and clients, said inappropriate things. And I've had guys that didn't say a thing and just kind of stood in the back and hid, and the person I'm looking for is someone who communicates in the right way, who picks up on the flow of the conversation, or if the client grabs them in the corner and said, hey, what'd you think about this issue going on over here? Well, that's a good question. Let's bring you over to Matt and see, he's the one that's figuring this out, how they run with the flow, if you will. I feel like I can teach anybody the inspection industry. There's lots of information on that, but how people work with people, how people communicate, are they, do they have a good sense of humor? Are they able to work around things? You're going to get stumped from time to time, and there's lots of times where clients and realtors will ask me things, after 20 years, I think I know it all, but every now and then they come up with something I don't know, but I'm able to deliver my answer in a way of, hey, we'll figure it out. We'll get to that. I like to see them kind of stumble a little bit, but come through with success, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I agree with you in the sense that you can kind of teach. There's a lot of things you can teach. Like I can teach somebody how to inspect a water heater. Yep. Like here's how the pipes should be connected. Here's how the gas line should be looking, and this is what, right. You need this expansion tank or straps or whatever, right? There's all these different things you can kind of teach anybody the technical side of that, but teaching people to read the room and to have some people skills and how do you communicate, how do you handle people, man, that's a really hard thing to teach. And
I don't know if you can all the time.
I don't know if you can either. Like, I think it's
already there.
Yeah. But their people are a product of their environment. And by the time they're coming around to work for me, like they've been on this earth for a couple, 3 decades, maybe 4 decades, and you're like, I can't untrain 40 years of bad habits, like this job just isn't the right fit for you. It doesn't mean you're a bad person, but this job requires these skills and you're just not there. And that's okay. But I think that's a really good way to approach it too. Is looking for that. We look for the same thing when we're looking for hires.
You got to find good people, and you can teach. We've all run into bartenders and first responders and people that are great people and great at what they do. But you want the people who can communicate, can multitask, and can work their systems properly by themselves most of the time. They're not
Yep.
going to be working with anybody else. They have to be task oriented and goal oriented and have a good sense of humor.
They really do. Yeah. Do you ever like, do you know what kind of joke, do you have jokes that you like put into? Okay. So all right, here's my thing, right? So in Disneyland, they have the Jungle Cruise. Yeah. I don't know if you're familiar with it. Okay. So on the Jungle Cruise, you're on the boat and the boat goes through the little path. It's a track, it's good. But the person on the microphone running it is like, oh my gosh, watch out for this, and they have the little fake cap gun and they have the different things that they do. And they have the same jokes that they kind of tell every time they go around, and different cruise directors tell different jokes on the same little cruise thing, right? And so I feel like the home inspection is the Jungle Cruise of construction, because we do the same thing. Like, we're going to get on the roof, we're going to do this exact same pattern in every single house. We have our process, but the jokes kind of change a little bit. Do you have any like fun ones that you like to tell?
I'm sure I do. I've got lots of jokes and lots of humor. Wasn't prepared to be telling jokes at the moment, but one thing I guess I could expand on is not really a joke, but I do always tell people, whether it's realtors, inspectors, the house is, it's like a book. If you're writing a book report, you didn't write the book, but you can tell them all about it. I always tell people, look, I didn't build this house, but I can tell you all about it and give you a great idea of what you're walking into. So I use that all the time. I think that's a solid analogy of
I like that
industry.
I like that a lot. Yeah. I like to use the, I'm your primary care provider, you know, like in that guy, like you go to your primary care provider and they said something's wrong with your heart. I can tell by these indicators, you're going to need to see a cardiologist to dive deeper into this and figure out what the actual solution is, and like I found something with your furnace, but you're going to need to find an HVAC specialist to figure out what exactly the solution is. But I know your HVAC's not working the right way. And so kind of like, that helps them wrap their mind around the idea of, further evaluation and correction by a licensed HVAC contractor.
I had a few clients that have needed a cardiologist when they saw what happened with the results of the house I'm presenting them, but that's a different story.
One of my favorite jokes is when there's a water heater that the temperature is too hot on. Oftentimes, like it'll be turned up too high, and I try to explain the whole idea of the water heater being too hot, and it's like, oh, the temperature's a little bit too high, and so that is a scalding risk, and they'd be like, oh, okay, and it's simple. It's not my house, it's not your house yet, but when it becomes your house, you turn the temperature down to this area, and it'll kind of straighten out that problem. It's an easy fix. And they're like, okay. And I said, but you know what? You and I are grown adults. We know how to mix water. We're not going to burn ourselves. Right. I said, but Junior over there, like your Junior over here, they might not get that. And so they burn themselves. And then I kind of pause. And if I read the room enough, I pause sometimes. I'd be like, but you know what? It's survival of the fittest. And if a hot water heater is what takes your kid out of this world, I said, you know what? Their kid, that one's not long for this world. So,
it's meant to be.
It's just meant to be. Yeah. If the hot water is what kills them, but I told you, here, like, your kid seems pretty smart. You'll be all right. Yeah.
Right. Well said.
Yeah. But I joke around with like things killing their kids and stuff. Like I use dark humor and but your kid seems pretty smart. They'll probably figure it out,
Their kids are always smart.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They're smart like their parents, so you'll figure this out. Sure. Yeah. So I like to use like dark humor with them. And so I don't know. I have like my running like list of jokes that I end up using all the way through. But I haven't done an inspection in a few years. So been out of the field for a while. So I'm a little rusty.
That's awesome. Well, hey, I'm sure you could pop right back into the field tomorrow if you needed to and still hit those same jokes and the same correlation.
Probably.
It doesn't change. Houses aren't changing.
They aren't changing. This is true. Yeah. Are you still in the field at all?
Yeah, still a little bit. I'm been in the process of pulling myself out, not as quickly as I would have liked, but that is really my focus for this year, for sure. I maybe do 3 or 4 a week, and I always have one of my guys with me as a training and development thing, just so I can check on them, check on their reporting. I'm not worried about how they interact. I guess I don't need to be there, but I'm still kind of hand-holding some realtors who have to have me. And as a matter of fact, I remember, I think it was you that made the point when we were at IEB Unite last year. You said, I got to have Matt Williams. He's got to be there. And
got to be there.
Show up in a suit. Like, oh, I'm here. I've got
That's
one of my
exactly what
guys
I do.
handling it, but I'm here. What did you want to know? How can I help you?
Yeah, it's exactly what I do. Yeah. So, what I do is, if someone's listening, also going through this same thing, this is how I did this was when it was, okay, I got to the place where you're at. I was doing like 2 or 3 a week just for those handholdy ones.
Yeah.
And so but they see me in the offices doing sales things. I'm wearing a suit or a sport coat, dress, slacks, button up shirt. I'm dressed nice because, dress like a realtor when you're out, doing the sales thing. And so then what I would do is I would say they would book me and the office would tell them like, yeah, absolutely. Matt's going to be there. And he's also going to have so-and-so with him. So you'll have 2 guys out there that day. And they're like, oh yeah, that sounds great. So then I tell the other inspector, he knows, they all know the routine. So the other inspector shows up on time. They get there and say, hey, Matt's at a meeting. He's almost here. He'll be a few minutes late, but I'm going to go ahead and get started for you. And then they do the whole driveway talk and they get started on their thing. And I might be sitting around the corner in my truck, but I'll wait a solid 20 to 30 minutes, make sure that they got a real solid start. Then I'll come pulling up and I'll get out, dress shoes, sport coat, dressed. Even if I was just recently on my couch in my sweatpants, like I'll put that on and I'll pull up in there. Hey, it's so good. I meet the realtor. I meet the clients. I just want to let you know you're in really good hands today. It's like, yeah, I've just, they got this on my calendar between 2 other appointments. And so then I kind of talk through them and I go, let me go check on my guy. And so I go check on the guy and I come back and I just hang out with the client and the realtor for about 30 minutes or so and chit chat about life and whatever else. And then,
that's great.
And then before it's done, I go, let me check on him again. I go check on him. I was like, man, Robbie's got this. He's crushing it. I said, I feel like you guys are in good hands. Do you need me to stick around to the end or you think you're gonna be okay with Robbie? And they're almost always like, oh yeah, I think I'm good with Robbie. He's like, that's good. Cause I got another appointment I got to get to. It was really good to see you and to shake the hand of the realtor. And it's really good to meet you guys as a client. Thank you so much for sending business our way, blah, blah, blah. And I go back truck and I leave.
Well, that's like the superintendent on a new build site, right? They're not there for the whole process, but they do stop in from time to time to check on things and see how it's going and make sure, hey, that needs to be figured out. That needs to be figured out. Then they're gone.
That's it. And so, but I just do that and dressed up nice. And so what it does is it very strongly communicates. I'm not getting in an attic. I'm not getting in a crawl space. I'm not getting on your roof. I am not handling a sewer scope. Like I'm not going to get dirty. Like I am not wearing dirty clothes. I'm wearing clean clothes. And it very strongly communicates without saying a word like, oh, this is Matt. He's the business owner. I'm not the business doer. And I can show up and be super friendly. And it just says a million words when I show up in a suit. And so, anybody that's trying to get out of the field, once you get to the point like where you're at right there, just change that one thing. And I guarantee you, when, they'll call you a couple more times. And if every time you show up in a suit, they're going to be like, yeah, right. Matt doesn't do home inspections anymore. Yeah. Matt's the business owner, not the business doer anymore. And it's going to be like, they'll just stop. It just happened. They're just like, yeah. And so they're like, well, I really want Matt to be there. And then once they realize like Matt being there isn't what used to be Matt being there, right. It changes, man.
Matt has good people.
I have great people. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so anyhow, yeah. So that's been kind of I just highly encourage anybody listening that that's where you're at. That's the strategy I use to get out of it and get your guys all on board. They understand what's going to happen. And
you made an impression on me with that when I heard it last year. That fit.
That one worked for me. And I heard that from somebody else in IEB. So I did not come up with that. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Another like subtle pitch for IEB. I'm telling you that. And it wasn't from the stage. That wasn't from a stage presentation. That wasn't from that wasn't even on a group call. That was a hallway conversation at an event.
Real world stuff.
Another guy in the hallway. I was like, yeah, I'm struggling getting out of the field. And he was like, oh, this is what I did. And he did a version of that. And I was like, oh, brilliant. And so I started doing that less than 30 days, maybe 45 days. It was done. Like nobody was wanting Matt out there anymore. They were just fine with the other inspectors.
That's awesome.
Yep. Yeah. And so, yeah. And then I'm out in all the sales offices. I'm out doing all the different events and all those different things. And
so they're still seeing you. They're just not seeing you on site.
Exactly. I teach CE courses. I teach other things. And every time I do, I don't wear inspector wear. I don't wear cargo pants and I dress up for everything, every interaction.
That's smart. You know what? It delivers an image, just like when you have, clean cut, good looking, well dressed, marketing presentation, and you have a great logoed vehicle, and you show up with a logoed shirt, logoed hat, tool belt. You don't look like a fly by night that you see in various different industries.
Yeah.
It delivers a message, and it's a good message.
The last time I had a home inspection when I bought a house was 2012, I think, and 2012, and I buy the house, and we hired a home inspector, and this guy showed up in an Audi A4 sedan, black Audi A4 sedan, and he gets out, and he was wearing like cargo shorts and a t-shirt, and he was my home inspector. There were no logos anywhere.
He was comfy.
Oh yeah, he's just. Yeah, I'm going to come out here and make a few $100, And so he came out, and I remember sitting there like looking at his car, and I was like, how are you going to get on the roof? He's like, oh, I got ladders. He opens up the trunk. The seats were folded down. And he had like little giant ladders like stuck in there,
wow.
And I have a 2-story house. And so he had to set one ladder on one part, climb up with that ladder in his hand, set up another ladder. And I was like, and I'm watching this. He had a tool bag with all this, like everything fit in the back of his Audi A4.
That's interesting, isn't it?
But he looked like a trunk slammer, right? He looked like a fly-by-night. He didn't look professional. And I remember that whole experience, like, well, the guy knew his stuff, but man, he did not come across like a professional.
Well, sure. And you remember your experience, and you think, well, in this scenario, you became a home inspector, you became a business owner of a home inspection company, and you, well, I'm not going to do that. Maybe I'll be as good as he was on paper, but I'm not going to look like that.
Yeah. Well, you have 7 seconds to make a first impression.
Yeah.
Like that's the stats on every business anywhere. You have 7 seconds to make a first impression. And it starts from the time they pull up to your business. That before they walk in the front door of your business, you already have your first impression established.
Right. You're looking at
was a parking lot clean?
Yeah.
Was it dirty? What is the asphalt all faded out and the stripes are gone, or is it looking sharp? What's the branding look like? Is the branding consistent in the parking lot? That's why when you pull up to a Target, the outside branding on a Target is different than outside branding on a Walmart. I don't know if you've noticed that, but when you look up at a Walmart and you pull up, you look at what do they call it? The curbside. Sure. When you have you order your stuff ahead of time, the curbside, at least in my city, the curbside at Target is exponentially classier than the curbside at Walmart. And so when you pull up to the parking lot, before you even get in the front door, the building looks nicer. It's a little more put together, a little cleaner. The outside experience is sharper. It looks classier before you even get into the building. And so that 7 seconds is happening along those ways. Before they ever run into a single employee, you've made your 7 seconds. So in our case, they're not coming to us. We're going to them, which gives us a huge advantage in the 7-second rule. We want to get there early. That's one of our goals. We want to get there a few minutes early before everybody else does. So when the client is pulling up, in my case, we got a bunch of those Ford Transit Connect vans. A whole fleet of them, right? And they're all wrapped in logos. And so when they pull up, there's a logoed van sitting there. And when you see that inspector, when he opens that door of the van, he doesn't have a bunch of crap falling out onto the ground. You got to put it back in, right? He opens it, he closes the door. He's wearing a logoed shirt. He's got a smile on his face, and maybe he's already on the roof. And so our guys are the same way. Like as soon as the customer's there, just pause, get off the roof, get whatever you're doing. Go meet them in the driveways as quickly as possible. Shake their hand, look them in the eye. We talk through all of that first impression stuff. Sure. But the 7 seconds starts when they are pulling up and they see your vehicle. Yeah. And if you had an Audi A4, and you had a bunch of crap stuff in the back of an Audi A4, you're fighting an uphill battle with your brand right from the beginning.
I've had guys that are in transition or whatever, driving a non-logoed vehicle or something without signage on it. And you always get a call, is he there? Is anybody there? I don't know. Yep. Well, you kind of fix that problem when you have a logoed vehicle sitting there.
Yep. And I know that's not how every business is set up. I know some inspection companies, people do drive their own personal vehicles out to inspections. There's ways to get around that, right? You could buy magnets that stick on the door. You could get those yard signs, like politician style yard signs, and you could have some of those, like you'd have a bunch of those in their vehicle, and they walk out and as soon as they get there, the first thing they do is put a stake in the ground. And, with the company logo on. This home this home's being inspection in progress. Perfect. Inspection in progress with your logo on it. And so you get out of your personal vehicle, you stab that thing in the ground, boom, branding established. So when the client shows up, they go, oh, they're here.
Yeah.
So much so they like marked it. Like we pissed on the ground. Like it's right there.
Just don't hit an irrigation line when you're putting it in the
ground. Yeah. We don't test irrigation. You're good.
I've seen real estate signs where they put them in, the big old signs in the front yard, and we do test irrigation. It's a big hot point out here for us.
Okay.
We turn it on every now and then. There's water just spraying out of the ground where the realtor sign is. It's always
You're like, somebody made a boo boo. That's pretty funny. Yeah, I think that. Yeah, man, that's really funny. All right, so you got, I think you have I like your approach on hiring. I think you got good thoughts there, man. And yeah. So how often do you stop by realtor offices? You say you just don't do that very often right now?
Not as often as I'd like. I did a ton of it in the first 10 years. We had a pretty good established relationship going with a lot of people. And it just kind of seemed to feed itself. COVID was a big help. I don't know if a lot of guys got out of the industry out here, but we just exploded in 2021. I had to hire 2 more guys, and some of our busiest years were 2021 and 22, which is great. But yeah, I've been successful going to realtor meetings, going to realtor offices, seeing them, behind the scenes, if you will, in their home turf. And it's been successful, just be yourself, bring a good product, talk to people, can't be bashful and shy. You got to have a smile and look like you know what you're doing and who you want to be. And word gets around. It doesn't happen immediately sometimes. You kind of have to culture that thing and work it properly. And consistency is key. I'm big on consistency and routine. If you're consistent, you have a good thing going, you do it often all the time, it's going to pay off. And it has, fortunately.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I'm trying to think back when I first started the same way. It was like a lot of effort into getting the marketing going and just a lot. And then there was a point where the word of mouth started taking over and the reputation started running on its own.
Yeah. It's
where
nice
it's like,
when it does.
Yeah. And I still do a lot of growth activities, but I don't do them. It's not as intensive as it was in the beginning. There's a lot more, hey, good to see you again.
Yeah.
Versus, hi, my name is,
right.
And what's nice,
to see you again.
I do too, especially when you're at a real estate office. Like when I'm standing up there, maybe presenting something really quick, and I look around the room and I'm going to talk about something, and I see some of the people I've worked with before, and it's like, as I'm going, it's like, hey, Mike, it's good to see you, man. Yeah, it's good to see you too. All right. And so in this, we're talking this and this, and I look around, I was like, Shane, oh man, good to see you too. Wow. I see a lot of familiar faces in here. Wow. And then it's like, and so I'll like call out some names, as people I do know. Hey, it's good to see you. It's good to see you. And then what happens for the people that don't know you? They're like, oh, these other guys work with him. Like without me having to say anything, I've said a lot.
Yeah. You made that 7 seconds impression a lot bigger.
Yeah. And so then people are like, oh, like not only is Matt allegedly a good inspector, but he also there's enough people in the room that have worked with him. And so then they'll go and ask Mike and Shane, is he good?
Sure. And hopefully they like you.
Yeah. Right. I know. Right. I don't call out the ones that we have beef with,
Right. Smart.
Yeah. I just call out the ones we're like, crushing it with. So
as you should.
Yeah. You're like, Sandra, not good to see you,
But Mike over there, hey, buddy.
Mike, hey. Mike and Shane, we're good. Right. Bobby, no, we don't talk no more.
Don't talk to you anymore. Moving on. Yeah, we've all been in that scenario, but it's I've told my guys a lot that even a bad experience can become a good experience. It's just depending on how you handle it. You can't be perfect. You're going to make mistakes. I just tell them you don't want to make the big mistakes, missing a roof thing, missing a foundation thing, a big plumbing or electrical or pool thing. And you can overcome all that stuff if you handle it the right way. If you make a mistake, own it, do the right thing, and move on.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think owning mistakes is a good thing, right?
Yeah, you have to, and you learn from it. If you make a mistake, just if you have to refund an inspection, or if you have to hear a chewing out every now and then from a realtor or a client, pay for a handyman to fix something, do it, but learn from it,
My dad told me the difference between a good man and a great man is not whether or not you make mistakes. It's what you do when you make mistakes.
1,000%.
Yeah. And I think, that's refreshing for people. I quote my dad all the time on that when people are in the middle of a hard time, when we make a mistake and there's a problem and people are really hot and whatever. And I just like, especially if I know we've made a mistake, and it's like, I kind of like try to calm them down a little bit. I'm like, hey, listen, we're going to take care of this. I was like, and let me tell you why. It's like, cause my dad told me, and I kind of say this thing. And I said, we did break that window. I want you to know that we did break that window and we are going to get a glass company out there to fix it. Yep. And they're like, oh, it's like, so, we made a mistake. Everybody makes mistakes. The difference is how do they handle it?
Right.
And I'm telling you, we're going to make it right.
And every time you make mistakes, you're going to own it and you're going to do the right thing. And that's great in the industry.
Absolutely. And I think the relationship with failure, I think we have to be really good and have a great relationship with failure because we are human beings and we do make mistakes. And if we can have a healthy relationship with failure, I think every conflict has the opportunity to bring people closer together or further apart. And if we handle our relationship with failure in a really healthy way, we can take every failure conflict opportunity and bring people closer together. We can improve our reputation even when we made mistakes.
Agreed. It's very easy to push them away without trying much harder if you've already made a mistake. It's not easy to bring it back around, but it can be done and it needs to be done if you're going to, have a successful company and not want them to, throw you under the bus or, talk bad about you behind the scenes. You need to do the right thing and turn it into a better relationship.
Absolutely. Every single time, man. Yeah.
Yep. Agreed.
That right. Yep. That's awesome, man. I love that you have that same mentality.
Well, yeah.
You kind of have to, right? Like as a business owner, you have to kind of level your skills up interpersonally in a whole different way.
For sure. I've hit my fair share of speed bumps and problems over the years, but they're few and far between now. And I like to think it's because I've got, a smooth system. Things are handled properly. I got a great crew. They've seen me mess up over the years and know how to handle it. And, you just got to learn and you got to do the best for other people too. You're kind of serving other people when you're doing this. I mean, you very much are. You're helping them out in a challenging time and, you got to make it a good experience.
Yeah. And I like what you said there about like your staff watches you and sees you and they learn from you. And there's like, the culture of your company is going to be set by who you are and how you handle and how you behave.
Yeah.
And right, like you can say the culture of our company, you could write down the culture. This is what our culture is going to be. And you can put it on the wall and we can look at that. But there's a difference between what it says on the wall and what your actual behaviors are. And your culture will be your behaviors, not what you write on the wall.
That's so true.
And so when you have staff and employees, if like, I don't like how this is being handled. Why is my company feel like there's tension and stress and whatnot? And it's like, well, there's probably incongruency between things like what you write down your culture is versus what your actual behaviors are. And you can only give away what you have. And so if you have patience and if you have grace and if you have discipline and if you have these things, you can give that away. But you can't, if you put it on the wall, but you don't have it, then you can't give it.
Agreed. And, we're talking about turning a bad situation into a good one with realtors and clients as well. It also happens with your guys too. There's times they're going to have a rough day. Client's going to, scream at them for something, whether it's their fault or not. They're going to have a long drive. They're going to miss an event with a family or kid or something. And you still have to treat them the right way as well. If you want them to be happy, if you want them to stick around, if you don't want to push a good person out the door, you have to take care of your people too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think like when you take care of your team, if you do it in a really healthy way, your team takes care of the clients.
Agreed.
Yeah. There's a little bit of a trickle down there where you're able to like, okay, I'm an investor. I mean, that's kind of my philosophy, at least, is I work really hard to take care of my people, financially, emotionally, time wise, priority wise, culture wise, just who they, take care of them as human beings. And it's like, man, if I'm taking care of them, hopefully they're taking care of clients.
Oh, for sure. And I'm of the opinion it's a heck of a lot less expensive to take care of your team than it is to find a new one.
Oh my gosh. Right.
So,
yeah. We, I don't know if you've gone through that yet with IEB. We talk through what the actual cost of a bad hire is. Yeah. That whole exercise is, you really start looking at it. It's not just what you paid the salary while they were there. No. It's also the missed opportunity.
Yeah,
it's also
problems,
problems, right? And how many realtors said, I'm not going to use that company anymore because of that experience with that one person.
I think that's RSTMM. Most.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, they put it into the RSTMM training, which is our hiring process training that we use. And then if you do the RGT, which is the I think it's rapid gain training or something like that, the RGT classes we do, we bake it in there as well. Yeah, and so we put it in the RGT and the RSTMM, because when you really get into the cost of a bad hire, you start to realize, wow, I really need to evaluate my hiring process and maybe slow that down. You're better off waiting and hiring the right person than rushing and hiring the wrong.
For sure. The wrong person's just going to cause more problems down the line anyway.
Yeah. They say hire slow and fire fast.
Yep. And they're right.
They are right. And, I think most business owners are optimists by nature. You kind of have to be in order to have like the faith to take these big steps and these risks in your life and starting a business. And as optimists, we want to believe the best in people. And so we see the potential of the employee of what they could be or what they might be. Picture. Yeah, we see that and we're like, oh, no, if I just work with them a little bit more, maybe we can make this happen. And sometimes we give grace, and sometimes we give too much grace because, right, we know the cost of getting rid of them and hiring another person. Yeah. We're like, oh, I've already invested so much more. If I can just work with them a little bit more. And sometimes we keep them around too long, and then the damage is done. So.
Yep. No, it's time to hit the road, Jack, right?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. I've owned a few businesses in my life, and the inspection business, I haven't had this, but in other businesses, I had one where I fired a guy and morale went up.
Oh, yeah.
And you're like, oh, I should have gotten rid of him a while ago.
Yeah, not in my inspection world either, but I worked at a different company years ago. And yeah, when we got rid of the lead balloon, if you want to call it that, like,
yep.
On a hot air balloon, you're snipping off the weights and then
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's exactly right, man. And it's funny, your staff know who the dead weight is.
Yes.
Like the other people know.
They're no dummies.
Yeah, no, they know. Yeah. They know who the dead weight is. They know who needs to go. And they won't say it. Most of the time they won't say it. And I don't blame them. They don't want to have a reputation of talking bad about somebody or whatever. But yeah, they know. And when you fire that one person and the whole team gets better, they're like, oh, breath of fresh air. You're like, oh, dang it. Should have done this a while ago.
If you're paying attention the right way, too, right?
It should be. Yeah, you should be. And that's where that RSTMM training comes in. It really shows you how to find the right people and train them. And it gives you a lot of insights.
It's a great course. Highly recommend.
Yeah. It's really good for sure. Yeah. Well, man, it's been really good having you on this show. It's been really good, like catching up with you from last time we saw each other, and like, yeah. And a lot of wisdom, man. You brought a lot of wisdom today. And I love that about you. And people might have more questions about like what you're doing and or maybe something we talked about today. If someone wants to get a hold of you, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
Sure. A few ways. Easy way would just be call my office directly in Phoenix, Arizona, 602-999-5850, and they can get a hold of me. If they want to text message me, they can. You call that number, you get my office, you text, it goes to me. Website is homeinspectaz.com, like homeinspectaz for Arizona.com. You can contact me through there. I'm easy. I'm easy to talk to. I'm easy to chat about the industry. I'm a big fan. I love what I do, and I like teaching people about it. So if someone wants to chat, I'd be happy to talk.
That's awesome, man. Well, thanks for being on the show. This has been a great episode.
Well, thanks, man. Thanks for having me. It has been awesome. Thank you.
Thanks.